everybody, this is Dane at Amber Dog Productions. So one of the things this time of year, by now, or if you're just starting to gear up for your kayak season and you've got a pedal drive or a kayak with a rudder, there's a little bit of maintenance you want to check so that you've got a good season coming up and no real problems. Obviously check your gear, check your cables, you know, the basics, but lubrication is also a pretty important thing. So we're going to go over a couple little quick things on my particular kayak. It's a Three Waters Big Fish 103, and we've got a rudder. It is a pedal drive, and we're going to touch bases on a couple little things on that. So let's get out there and have a look-see. Okay, so a couple of things we're going to be going over real quick here. We're going to be going over the rudder assembly, and down in here you have your pivot point where your rudder swings up and down like this, okay? And then you'll have your pivot point up underneath here, and my dog whining in the background. Liberty dog, I'm right here. She wants to be out here outside, but I'm out front. And then you've got your cables right over here and here. These are your steering cables, and the one in the middle is your draw cable that lifts your rudder. We're also going to cover the lubrication of the Pro Drive unit and how to do that. So all you really need is an Allen wrench that fits this plug right here, another one right here. Okay, this is your top one. So all you really need to do these, this is what I like to use. I use some white lithium grease, okay? And for the other lubricant is a nice viscosity oil, and this stuff here is good for fishing reels, stuff like that. So it's a nice gun oil. And then for the lithium grease, I picked up some of these syringes off of Amazon, and you can see the tip is blunt on this one, and that's, you pull the plunger out and you load it with grease and fill it up probably about to the 10 mil, then you still got room for your plunger. And then for this one, the same thing, but on this one I've attached the lubrication tip on it. It is a blunt tip, not sharp, okay? So you can see that. And you just attach that right on the end, put some oil in that, and that's how we'll be doing that. So for this one, when you fill it up, you take this plug out, and then you take your syringe in that hole, and you shove that in the hole, and I pump in about half of it, and then you rotate the pedal drive some, pump in the other half, rotate it some, and I did that twice, okay? And then when you drop the pedal drive like this, come down to this one, take that plug out, don't forget to put them back in. And this one has a seal on the back of it, of course, because it's underwater. The top one does not have a seal. But you take this one out, and I did the same thing. Put half a tube in, roll it for a little bit, put the other half a tube in, roll it for a little bit, fill it back up, and do it again. That's how I did mine, okay? Now, as far as this goes, let's talk about how we're going to do this. There's a couple places we can access these cables. We can access them down under here in these entrance points here, and one on the other side, okay? And then the other spot that gives us some access is right at the steering unit. You got one right here and one down below, okay? Above and below, because this whole thing operates like this, okay? So let's get busy on that. Okay, so what I've got here is I've got the little syringe here with the dull tip on it, and I put some oil in it, and I'm going to push it down in here as far as I can. And there is the tube inside of this, so I'm going to squirt some in there real slow and easy though, because I mean, it's going to try to back out on you, so just a little at a time, go back and forth. Let it drift on in a little bit. You can back out the syringe a little bit if you're worried about making a big old mess, but keep a rag on hand. Okay. And then what I want to do is I want to come up here and I want to steer it a little bit to try to work some of that oil down in the tube, because these tubes go down inside and kind of drop down. So I'm going to work the rudder back and forth. Full throw if possible. The idea is to kind of draw some of that oil down there, you know. And then I'm going to do that again. You'll notice I'm off to one full swing this way, and I'm doing it this time to help. That way when I pull it in the next time, it'll pull this cable and the oil forward, and it'll do the same thing again. And I'm going to do this several times until I feel pretty satisfied that I've got a fair amount of oil up inside there. In my opinion, you're talking water and steel cables and a dog that's yelping in the background. She wants to be out here. Being as you're talking steel cables and stuff in here, I don't know that you could, if you had it pooled up full of oil in the bottom, the lowest location, that wouldn't really hurt. Liberty, you're not dying over there. She thinks she is. Okay, so let me move the rudder that way, and then I'll do the same on this side. Now see, that's going to pull that cable with that oil I just put on further down into the channel. Okay. And the idea is to use the cable, the pressure of the oil that you're inserting, but also use the cable to help pull it down into that tubing that the cable is inside of. Okay. And I'm going to work the rudder some. So you need a little bit of patience to do this if you want to do it right. But the old saying is, why is there always time to do it again, but not enough time to do it right the first time? So, again, if you've got too much oil in there, it's pooled up in the lowest point. Well, that's better than water pooled up in there. And if there's oil down there, well, guess what? Water floats on oil. So, all right. Put a little more in here. Looks like I need to fill my syringe up with some more oil. I'm being pretty liberal with it, I might add. Oil in a bottle is great, but oil on my rudder cable is even better. So the idea here is you just kind of keep on going at it, like my dog keeps on yelping in the background. Okay, I'm going to work the rudder some more, and you're just going to keep repeating this until you're satisfied. Okay, until you really think, you know, I got to have enough in there. Okay. And then I'm going to try to run up here to the rudder control and try to get some in from this end. All right. Okay, so here what I've done is I've removed the two screws that go directly down here. Okay. And the idea is there that now I can swing this away. In process of doing, I've also removed this carefully because there's a shaft, a bushing, and a pin that goes through there that can fall out. So when you start pulling this all apart, you need to be very careful. And then here's what I'm after right here. So I'll get some of my oil here, and we're going to shoot some in here like this. Get my rag, and I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick the rag underneath there, so if it does drip out too much, I won't get it all over my kayak. Okay. Got a nice little pressure shot in that one. And then I'll do the same thing down below to the one down here. See if I can pull that out a little bit, get a little better purchase on it. A little tricky to get to, no doubt. There we go. I did manage to get it down in there, so it seemed like coming in from the front was pretty good. All right, now I'm going to hold this because it's not screwed down. I'm going to hold this and operate the rudder. Try to pull some of that oil down inside the cable. Gosh, you know, that already feels better, but now I lubed this when I first got the kayak, but you know, it's been sitting since last season. So I think I'm going to fill my lubing device here, and we'll give it a bash again. Just keep doing that for a while. Okay, so here you can see I've got the two screws mounted back in, so it's firmly in place, and the rudder is operating nicely. There are a few things I would like to point out about this particular 8-ball steering system. A lot of people have problems, or have had the problem with the the cables that come into the spool here and come out the bottom. They've had problems with it bailing up and breaking in there. Poor lubrication is one high probable cause. Where you have lubrication, rust, and corrosion really is not an issue. But another one that happens is improper cable tension in the back. So if you don't have an even pull in the back, so there's, if you have a lot of slack in this cable that runs all the way through the system to your rudder in the back, as you move it one way or the other, it's going to promote a loop or a loose spot inside of here at the tension point. And ultimately what that's going to cause is it to ball up inside there, and then it just gets all wadded up. It doesn't work. The other thing I'd like to point out is this right here, this knob in the front, okay? This is your tension knob for how hard it is to steer, okay? It also, when you take the assembly apart, it also is what you use to take it apart. But ideally, if you have it loose, and you'll notice this gap right here, it's kind of floppy, okay? So what I do to get proper tension on is I tighten that knob in till that gap right there just shuts, okay? And that's it. It's like, and that way there's no flop in any direction this way, and it operates nice and smoothly, okay? You can over tension that, tighten it down, and then this thing's really like almost impossible to move, and you'll notice it didn't take much to do that. So I make it a little bit floppy, I bring it in until it just touches, and then I'm good to go. Okay, so let's move to the back again. Okay, and here, in this area right here, these are your cable tensions. I'm going to straighten out this rudder real quick. Okay, good enough. And so ideally, when your rudder is in any one position, you don't want a lot of flop in here. Okay, these should be fairly, not super tight. You don't want them tight, but you want them taut. I thought I'd never use that word, but there it is. So a little bit of deflection on these, okay, at the same time, no matter where the rudder is. You don't want it like crazy tight so it's putting the whole system in a bind, but you also don't want in any deflection of the rudder, you don't want any of this to be able to just loop and bind up, because ultimately up by the steering mechanism, that's where you'll get your problems. So to center your rudder, you want to get your rudder completely centered. Okay, get it like as close as you can possibly get it. That looks pretty good right about there. And then moving on up front here, you want to get that in about this position right here, because a lot of people are talking about how when they go to full deflection the other way, it hits the seat, So you want to get it so your rudder is centered, and this ball is set at about that position right there. And you can tighten this down to kind of hold things in place so you're not worried about it. So once you have all this in place, this here, you can adjust, the position of how this swings around however you want it. But ideally, you want to have it so it's in a comfortable neutral position up here, okay? And that's where you want to have this. Then you come back here, and this includes if you have to retension your cables at a later date. I personally use a little bit of blue Loctite in these two right here, but if I need to, you'll notice I haven't cut my cable off, but if I need to, I can loosen those two set screws with that with the 8-ball in a neutral position, get this all centered, and then I can pull equal pressure, tighten it down, equal pressure, tighten it down as the cables stretch over time. As far as lubrication goes, down inside here where your beaver tail rudder or whatever rudder you have pivots down in here, maybe put a little bit of lubricant down there. You have 2 rollers up here. They're really free spinning, but I lube them anyway, mainly to prevent corrosion. And then the pivot point under here and down at the bottom, I'll shoot some PB Blast or something at, or even that syringe with the hops oil in there, just to kind of make sure any moving part is lubricated nicely. So at the end of the day, the idea here is to lubricate any singular point on the kayak that moves. From corrosion on the water, especially if you guys are in salt water, oh my God, I'm sure you know about corrosion. I personally do fresh water, but rust loves everybody equally. So any moving part, lubricate it, get it done at the beginning of the year when you're ready to go out, and hopefully you'll have a good kayaking season or boating season, whatever you do. But even something as simple as your paddle, you got a 2 or 3 or 4 piece pack paddle, any of those things, check them out, the little detents, things like that. wipe them off, put a little bit of oil on them or something like that, and wipe them down real good, just so everything's moving freely. Check your gear out. It's nothing worse than getting on site and realizing something's not working right. Anyway, this is Dana Price at Amber Dog Productions, so hopefully something in this video helped you out. If it did, click like, share, and if you like the other content on my channel, feel free to subscribe. I'm almost at a benchmark, so you can be part of that. I won't argue. All right, it's Dana Price. See ya.